The moment she stopped begging to be chosen, everything changed. She stopped editing her essence to be more agreeable, stopped measuring her worth by who clapped, who stayed, who texted back. She stopped shrinking her truth to soothe fragile spaces. And when she stopped asking for permission to be powerful, she became it. That's when the shift happened. Not because the world clapped louder, but because her soul did. Hi, love. I'm Kay Ali Cole, and this is where women learn to love and lead from power, not panic. This is where we return to our truth and learn the strategy of peace, power, and purpose. This is your invitation to come home to your center, right? Before we begin, Queen, stay with me until the end. Your exclusive Queen's closing gift is waiting there for you, right? And I see a lot of you Queens watching, but not subscribing yet. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'll wait. Thank you, Queen. You give your time, I give you my best. That's our promise to each other. Now lean in, Queen. Come on, lean in. Because this message, it's sacred. And I say that about all of them, but this one is sacred. All of them are, but it will help change your perspective. She didn't change overnight. She changed the day she realized her overgiving wasn't generosity. It was self-betrayal. She changed when she noticed how small she became just to be tolerated. She changed when the voice inside whispered, there's more than this, and you know it. Because deep down, she'd always known that she was living and how she was living didn't match the woman she was becoming. She was walking in a miracle because she was a miracle. And she dimmed her light. She was powerful but performative, giving but depleted, present but not whole. And she finally told the truth to herself. When she did, it cracked something open. She stopped performing wellness and started protecting it. She stopped apologizing for her peace. She stopped dressing her no in polite confusion. She stopped attending rooms where her soul had to shrink to be seated. Let me call us out real quick. Yeah. You ever have that moment when someone says you've changed and you feel that twinge in your gut? Even though deep down you know it's the best thing you could have ever done. Exactly. That feeling right there. That's the residue of the old self still trying to people please from the grave. You've buried it, but it's still trying to resurrect. But Queen, you're not her anymore. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to evolve beyond recognition. You're allowed to be unrecognizable to the version of you who once mistook being chosen for being loved. Yeah. There's something holy about a woman who returns to herself. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't explain it. She just starts living from the inside out. And when she does, the world around her starts adjusting or exiting. That's not loss, that's alignment. Because when you start walking in your worth, everything that requires your insecurity starts falling away. It vanishes, it disappears, poof, be gone. You're not here to convince anyone of your enoughness. You're here to embody it. You're here to remember that your peace isn't a luxury. It's your divine assignment. You're here to recognize that spiritual maturity isn't shown through performance. It's revealed in how you protect your presence. Right? Let's slow down. Let's slow down here. You ever sit in a room full of people, suddenly feel like you don't belong there anymore? Not because you're unworthy, but because the version of you that once fit no longer exists. That's not isolation. That's elevation, right? Your spirit is shedding expired agreements. The contract has already been null and void. It's over. You're outgrowing the spaces that you needed to stay small in order to be connected and to stay connected. And that's holy work within. She realized, I am the room. I am the standard. I'm not here to be tolerated. I'm here to be rooted and radiant and unapologetically me. No more begging to be seen. No more over-explaining your softness. No more auditioning in rooms she was born to lead in. She remembered a truth her spirit always knew from day one. That peace is not passive, it's prophetic. Peace means you've chosen to stop leaking energy into cycles that never respected your presence. It means your no is not clean and quiet, not a performance soaked in guilt. It means your yes is sacred, not an obligation wrapped in resentment. You ever notice how your energy shifts the moment you stop trying to manage everyone else's emotions? Have you noticed that? That stillness you feel, that's your nervous system exhaling. That's your soul saying, thank you, finally. You're not selfish for centering yourself. You're not cruel for not contorting anymore and folding yourself into a pretzel. You're not distant. You're discerning now. The woman who used to stay silent just to keep the peace, she's gone because she's evolved. She's found a voice that doesn't scream. It stands. She's found a love that doesn't hurt. It heals. She's found a power that doesn't dominate. It defines. And Queen, let me remind you, there is no prize for betraying yourself just to be liked. There is no trophy for staying accessible to people who never respected your presence. There's no glory in dimming your lights so someone else can shine comfortably. You've done that. You've done that already. Now your presence is an altar, not an offering. Not an offering. You're not angry. You're aware. You're not bitter. You're becoming. You're not detached. You're devoted to your peace, your purpose, and your path. Imagine you're just trying to live soft and slow, and then your calendar reminds you that one thing you said yes to out of guilt, and now your body's screaming no with an awful tantrum. That's not flakiness. That's your alignment speaking up. Your body is tired of you saying yes when your spirit already gave you a no. It's exhausted. So here's what shifts when a woman remembers her worth. Because you are worthy. She stops waiting for closure and starts walking in clarity. She stops being accessible to every ping, ding, and mood swing that comes in her way. She stops giving herself away in pieces, hoping someone will finally see the whole of her. She becomes a confirmation she used to beg for. You survived a lot. Queen, you survived so much. But now you're ready to live and thrive in truth. And the truth is, your self-worth was never supposed to be outsourced. It's an inside job. Inside. One that's rooted in divine knowing. One that's aligned with peace, purpose, and legacy. One that doesn't need performance. Just presence, stillness, awareness of thyself. And the moment you stop begging to be chosen, you begin choosing yourself fully, freely, without apology. That's the woman you're becoming. And that changes everything. You get to choose yourself. You are worthy. There's no one like you. Right? Let's see. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to go inside because we forget who we are. Because worth doesn't come from what you do. It's who you are. You spent years in service to everything but yourself. Loving at the expense of losing your energy, helping while hemorrhaging, being there for everyone while barely being there for yourself. And finally, the moment came when you asked yourself the question that changed everything. What would it look like to belong to me? Not just survive for others, not just sacrifice for praise, but actually honor myself as deeply as I've been trained to honor everyone else. That question, it begins to return. It begins to return to yourself. Why do we do this though? Like honestly, we'll rearrange our whole schedule just to make someone else more comfortable and then apologize when we're exhausted. We'll say yes when every part of our spirit is whispering no, just to avoid disappointing someone who wouldn't think twice about disappointing us. And for what? For what? To keep the peace? Queen, that's not peace. That's people pleasing. That's exactly what it is. People pleasing. True peace isn't the result of being liked. It's the result of being aligned. And alignment asks you to stop betraying yourself for breadcrumbs along the way. You deserve more than that. You're worthy. You're worth more than that. You no longer confuse exhaustion with love. You no longer mistake overfunctioning for connection. You no longer view being chosen as proof of being worthy because you know you're already worthy before anyone else recognizes that. See, there's a quiet revolution that begins when a woman starts feeling her value in her body, not just rehearsing it in her head. Is when she stops managing how she's being perceived and starts mastering how she's felt in her own presence. And here's the truth. You can't access divine strategy when you're stuck in self-abandonment. You can't become the woman you were called to be when your energy is trapped in proving and pleasing. Because spiritual clarity only flows in a body that's fully present, and presence can't live in performance. Right? You ever pause after saying yes to something and immediately feel your body tightening? Not your spirit, your body. That's wisdom. That's your soul knocking on the door saying, you know this isn't for us. You know this is not for us anymore, right? But we override that knock with logic. But they need me. But I said I would. But I don't want to let them down. Meanwhile, you're letting yourself down. Quietly, politely, and consistently. Over and over again. And every time we do, our nervous system keeps the score. It remembers. There's a deep truth here. You were never created to be everyone emergency contact at the cost of your emotional bankruptcy. You don't have to explain your boundaries to earn respect. You don't have to prove your goodness by leaking energy onto every request. You don't have to smile when you shrink. Because, Queen, your worth isn't up for debate anymore. You are worthy just because. That woman becoming, that's in you. She started seeing the difference between being wanted and being valued. She used to light herself on fire to keep connections warm. Now, she brings the warmth, but only where the room honors the fire. She learned that divine relationships don't require her to hustle for love, because anything you have to hustle to keep, you'll always be scared to lose. And fear has no business sitting in the driver's seat of your self-worth. None at all. You know what? It's always funny to me. Like, we send the most thoughtful message. Double check it. Make sure the tone is warm and clear. Leave just enough emojis so we don't sound too much. Then we get a dry one-word response and spend the rest of the day overthinking the whole thread like, really? Didn't they understand me? Didn't they get it? Why did they send me this? Why? Why do we do that? Because our self-worth has been trained to perform, trained to analyze, trained to seek reassurance instead of choosing rest. But babes, when your worth is internalized, you don't beg energy to mirror you. You become the mirror. Here's where the old version of us likes to pop up. Like whack-a-mole. We're doing great, setting boundaries, walking in peace, and then someone says, oh, you're acting different now, or, you seem a little bit distant, and you feel that whisper of guilt again, like, well. But pause and ask yourself, have I changed or have I healed? Healing looks like change to the people who are used to leaking your energy for their comfort. Let's break this down. True self-worth is anchored. It doesn't need applause to feel solid. It doesn't need a text back to feel whole. It doesn't need a platform to be powerful. And when you're anchored, you're not reactive. You're responsible. You are responsible for your peace, responsible for your rest, responsible for your divine assignment to carry, and that only you carry. You don't match energy. You maintain your frequency. That's your job. You walk into rooms and don't ask, will they like me? You ask, will this room honor me? You don't attend chaos just to prove you can handle it. You don't explain your capacity like it's a courtroom testimony. You just move from spirit, not from seeking. You'd think we'd learn by now, but no. We keep trying to explain our evolution to people committed to misunderstanding us. We keep rehearsing closure conversations with people who don't even deserve a final word. And yet, that's how we know we're still learning. We're still growing, right? Still remembering. Your worth is not a presentation. It's a posture. It is. And here's a revelation. When you trust a divine assignment on your life, you stop needing constant reassurance from humans to feel validated. You stop projecting your power into others, hoping they reflect it back to you. You remember you were born with it. It's always been yours. The assignment is yours. You have purpose. And in that, you walk softer, but you stand taller. You speak less, but every word carries weight. You give, but only from overflow. Now, never from depletion. Because this time, you're not giving love just to feel safe. You're not giving time just to feel seen. You're not giving pieces of yourself to feel wanted. You're choosing sacred alignment over shallow approval. And that right there, that's the beginning of self-worth. That changes everything. It changes everything, your life path. And it didn't all happen at once. It was slow. a steady unraveling of the old self and a gentle becoming of the true one, your true self. Self-worth isn't an announcement. It's an embodiment. It's not just a mindset. It's a nervous system recalibration. Because Queen, when you've been taught to survive through self-sacrifice, even rest can feel unsafe at first. But here's what she learned, that part of you that's becoming, that rest is not lazy. Rest is not selfish. Rest is sacred. When a woman begins to trust that she's worthy of rest, even when there's more to do, more to fix, more to give, she's not just healing herself. She's shifting legacy. You can rest. Let's be real for a second. You ever cancel something you didn't want to do or want to go to, and then feel guilty for finally honoring yourself? Like somehow choosing peace is a betrayal of your performance. You're not under contract to perform. That guilt, it's not truth. It's programming. It's conditioning. You are taught to treat yourself worth like a paycheck you had to earn instead of a presence you get to embody. You were born with it. But you're unlearning now. You're unlearning that conditioning. You stopped trying to prove you're enough. You were born enough. Because you know now, you've always been more than enough, even when others didn't recognize it. And Queen, their recognition is not your requirement. This is a season of rooted value, not reactive value, not situational value, rooted value. The kind that says, I don't need to explain why I am unavailable. I don't need to justify why I'm resting. I don't need to give a speech to deserve solitude. Because anything sacred needs space. And you, Queen, you are sacred. You are worthy. You deserve everything in life that it has to offer. Imagine you're minding your business, just pouring into yourself, and then someone hits you with, you've changed. As if growth is a crime. As if boundaries are betrayal. As if your evolution is an inconvenience to their expectations. But you no longer contort to be kept. You no longer shrink to be loved. You no longer apologize for the way your self-worth rearrange your responses. It's okay. Because healing won't always be met with applause. And it's not supposed to be. Your healing isn't a performance. It's a decision you make every day. But this is where it gets good. You no longer try to value your response with time. No longer internalize someone's inability to receive your love as failure to give it. No longer explain your no's like a negotiation, because now your nose is holy. It doesn't need a paragraph. It doesn't need a softening filter. It just needs to be said. No, I can't attend. No, I'm unable to make it. It's okay. If this message is speaking to you directly and is speaking to your soul, if you've been walking this journey of reclaiming your self-worth quietly, go ahead and subscribe now. You give me your time and I will give you my best. That's our promise to each other. And I want you to stay with me through the end of this message, because your Queen's closing gift is waiting there for you, okay? So let's go a little deeper. Let's understand this message a little bit more. That way you can embody that self-worth. Because when a woman finally comes home to herself, you feel it. Her boundaries aren't harsh, they're clear. Her energy isn't defensive, it's defined. She doesn't rush to fill silence anymore because her presence is loud. Her presence is loud enough. She no longer uses productivity to prove her worth. She no longer interprets someone else's disappointment as a cue to abandon herself. That's spiritual maturity. That's growth in real time. That's you. It's funny because we swear we've grown. We swear we've grown until we're sitting across from someone who used to make us question our value. And suddenly the old version of us wants to resurface, wants to perform, wants to please, wants to win the moment. But growth whispers, and it says, quietly, you don't have to win. You just have to remain. Remain rooted, remain regulated, remain respectful of the woman you've fought to become. This is where the shift gets embodied, right here. It's no longer about how loud your confidence sounds. It's about how calmly your boundaries sit. It's about the quiet conviction that says, I don't fight for access anymore. I wait for alignment. And if it's not aligned, she doesn't adjust her crown to make it fit. She walks away with peace in her step, not panic in her chest. Rested, regulated, at peace within herself. This is a moment where the universe tests us. You finally get the courage to set a new boundary. And immediately, someone you love calls it selfish. But you know now that protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's stewardship. And you're no longer a volunteer for emotional labor you didn't ask for. You're no longer the translator of someone else's discomfort. You're no longer the fixer of dysfunction that didn't begin with you. You simply return to your center and let the alignment do what explanation never could have. Right? That's what's changed. That's what's changed everything. Not the declarations, not the journals full of affirmations, not the external validation, but the quiet moment when you realized you didn't need permission to value yourself. You just needed presence. That's it. To be one with yourself. Queen, listen, when you no longer rush to explain, when you pause before reacting, when you protect your voice and your energy like sacred currency because it is, that's when everything shifts. The room shifts, your relationship shifts. Say that 3 times. Your standard shifts, not because you're cold, but because you're clear. You ever watch yourself choose silence, not out of fear, but from faith? That's not detachment, that's dignity. That's what a healed nervous system sounds like. You don't have to rush to answer every response, right? You don't need to prove your goodness by burning out for others. You don't need to explain your alignment. You don't need to apologize for evolving beyond survival. This version of you, she doesn't perform peace. She protects it. And that's what self-worth really is. Not how loud you speak. No, but how deeply you know. You don't have to speak to be seen. Right? You don't have to. Embodying self-worth is what we do daily. And let's call it what it is. Reclaiming your self-worth isn't glamorous. It's not a perfectly captioned moment with background music and a filter. No, love. It's quiet, it's messy, it's tender. It's deleting text that took you 10 minutes to write because you realize mid-sentence You were trying to earn something you already deserve. It's stepping out of rooms that don't require your voice, but still your peace and your presence. It's learning not to fill the space even when it aches. Because healing doesn't always feel like power. Sometimes it feels like restraint. Like restraint. Restrain yourself sometimes. Because here's a twist. She used to think loving people well meant showing up no matter what. Even if she was tired, even if her soul said no, even if her intuition whispered, this isn't yours to carry. But self-worth doesn't show up with bags under her eyes and burnout in her bones and still ready to carry the whole world on her shoulders. Self-worth loves within limits. Because love without limits isn't devotion, is depletion. And how can you give from depletion? There's nothing there. And now, she no longer proves her love through exhaustion. She expresses it through boundaries. She started asking new questions. Not, do they like me? But, do I like who I am around them and who I become around them? Not, will they leave if I say no? But, why am I afraid to honor my limits? Not, what if they don't understand? But, instead, what if I betray myself trying to explain? Those questions, they changed everything. Because they made her examine not just the relationships in her life, but the relationships with herself. Ask yourself these questions. And tell me why we equate stillness with failure. Why is it that the moment we pause, guilt shows up dressed like urgency? She used to feel like every pause needed to be defended. Now, she pauses unapologetically. That's who you are. Because she now understands the simple truth. Very simple. Presence is more powerful than performance. She doesn't overschedule to feel worthy anymore. She doesn't rush to fill the gaps in someone else's peace. She's no longer the emotional janitor for every room she walks in, sweeping up emotions and dusting off mood swings. She holds space with discernment, not default. Right? You ever leave a conversation and realize you were the only one regulating the vibe? The only one checking tone, monitoring silence, managing the temperature? That's not connection, that's control. And Queen, your value is not in how well you can rescue the moment. You don't have to be the emotional Wi-Fi for everyone around you. You're allowed to rest without guilt. You're allowed to leave without explanation. You're allowed to stay silent and still be powerful, still be loved, still be worthy. So she stopped over-apologizing, stopped shrinking her decisions down into soft sentences wrapped in disclaimers. Now, she says what she means, with warmth, with clarity, with no need to soften, just to make it palatable. Because peace doesn't always sound poetic. Sometimes it sounds like, no, I won't be able to make it. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. You know what? I need some space right now. Not with aggression, but with authority. Here's where it gets really funny. The moment you stop over-explaining, someone will try to pull you back into the loop. Why? Because they're used to it. They'll ask, why didn't you say something sooner? You used to be more available. I feel like you're acting different. And you are. Because self-worth is a difference. It's a difference between being accessible to everyone all the time on their schedule, right? It's the difference between guilt-led decisions and God-led discernments. It's the difference between performing for peace and protecting your peace. There's a difference. And you know the difference. You don't have to fix your way into being loved. You don't have to exhaust your intuition trying to make someone else feel whole. You don't have to give updates to people who only listen to respond and not to understand. And you know who they are. There is no scoreboard for suffering, no trophy for overfunctioning, no badge for burnout. Self-worth lets you off that hamster wheel for good and stay off. Let's go a little deeper. She realized her capacity wasn't the problem. Her self-abandonment was, right? She had the capacity to give, to show up, to pour, but not at the expense of her well-being. Not anymore. So she began to ask, is this mine to carry? Does that sound familiar? That question changed her. And it changed her calendar. It changed her conversations. It changed her core beliefs. Because peace doesn't just require stillness. Peace requires structure. It does. She's no longer moved by urgency. She doesn't rush to respond just because someone is uncomfortable. She doesn't say yes because the silence felt awkward. She doesn't drop everything for an emergency that wasn't hers. She centers herself now. Not because she's selfish, but because she's sourced. She is you. She is you. You were raised in a world that praised the woman who never asked for help, the woman who showed up without question, the woman who worked harder than everyone else just to be seen as enough. But now, you're not interested in performing. You're not trying to be Superwoman. You're invested in embodying a whole woman. One who is deeply rooted in her worth, even when others are uncomfortable with it, especially then. You don't carry it all anymore. You don't prove yourself through pressure. You don't define your goodness by how much you've endured. Your self-worth said you don't need to suffer to be spiritual. You don't need to be drained to be generous. You don't need to perform to be powerful. You already are those things. You just need to be aligned. And Queen, this alignment is what changed the room. You're not trying to be impressive anymore. You're not. You're trying to be well. And that shift is a real revolution. It is. It's the becoming of who you are. It's sitting in presence. It's knowing your self-worth. Let's take this time to breathe. Not to relax, but to realign, right? Let's inhale and hold it and exhale. Now again, inhale, hold it, and exhale. That's your rhythm now. We breathe to become centered, to come back to our bodies, and let our bodies know that we're safe. Our body know that we're safe. Because this version of you doesn't mistake burnout for belonging, doesn't confuse silence with submission, doesn't see stillness as laziness. You know the difference between retreat and rest and reset, between boundaries and bitterness, between being nice and being rooted. And here's a kicker. She used to offer emotional hospitality to everyone, even the ones who left their mess behind. Now, you're not operating in that anymore, because your self-worth isn't a welcome mat anymore. It's a threshold, a line between survival and sovereignty, between approval and alignment, between proving and protecting. And you're not crossing it for anyone. Picture this. You used to twist your voice into kindness that wasn't real. You laughed through tension, smiled through confusion, say, "It's okay," when it never was. Now, you sit in silence without offering a performance. You let people feel the pause. You trust that discomfort doesn't mean disconnection. It means discernment. That's growth. Not loud, not flashy, but sacred, quiet, and true. You are worthy of love that's true, right? This version of you won't beg to be seen. She's resting now. This version of you won't translate herself into smaller little pieces. She's finally whole. The version who mistook tolerance for love, she's been set free. Because Queen's self-worth doesn't wait for approval to arrive before taking up space. She walks into the room like she belongs there because she does. And if the room can't hold her, she blesses it and builds her own. Right? Let's breathe again, just to relax our body. This time, breathe in this truth. I am not here to earn love. I'm here to embody it. I'm allowed to be full, even if others prefer empty. I'm no longer available for conversations that cost my peace. I am rooted. I am worthy. I am home within myself. You feel that? That's your nervous system unclenching. That's your soul remembering who she was before she was asked to shrink. That's your body trusting that safety doesn't require performance. Doesn't require performance anymore. Let's be real. This healing journey, it doesn't always come with applause. Nope. You'll disappoint people who depend on your overgiving. You'll confuse people who only knew the difference and only knew the version of you that flinched into a yes. You'll grieve the woman who used to work for validation just to feel enough. But here's the truth. You don't need to be understood to be whole. You don't need to be agreeable to be aligned. You don't need to be liked to be loved. Because the love you needed most, it wasn't theirs. It was never theirs. It was yours. And it's always been yours. Here's where the transformation lives. You don't edit yourself in real time anymore. You don't prepare for betrayal while pretending to be relaxed. You don't hustle for intimacy that's never been safe. You slow down long enough to hear your own voice. And she's no longer asking for permission. She's giving direction. Let's do our moves right now. Something that will help us during the week, our small move, right? Check your calendar and remove one thing that was added out of guilt. Not duty, not truth, just guilt. It could be a call, a coffee, a check-in, a just making sure. Delete it. Don't reschedule it. Release it. That one small move reminds your spirit, I am not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. Your large move. This will help you shift in a bigger way this week. Write yourself a boundary blessing. A short statement you can return to when your peace feels negotiable, right? For example, I don't apologize for protecting my energy. It is safe to disappoint others in order to stay true to myself. I honor my limits because they are sacred. Keep it close, read it often, speak it aloud. This is how we transform silently and permanently. Right? Now let's anchor it in our words, because our words rewrite our code. You're no longer afraid of what happens when you stop overgiving, because now you know the truth. When you stop abandoning yourself, you stop attracting people who expect you to. When you stop apologizing for your no, you start magnetizing people who can respect it. When you stop proving your worth, you finally remember it. That remembering is a revolution. It's the inner awakening that you need. And your Queen's closing gift is awaiting you right after this message. You poured, you stayed, you witnessed your own shift. That deserves honor. That deserves space. That deserves softness. You did it. Remember the small steps and the big steps to do this week. Your closing gifts at the end of this message will help you with that as well. If this message spoke to your shift, your healing, your power, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment, share this message, pass it to the woman you know needed this too. And if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. This is your gentle nudge, your reminder, because this space was created for women like you. Sacred, strategic, spirit-led, and a loving place for you to come to. You give your time, I give my best. That's our promise to each other. And as always, stay crowned, stay blessed, and stay healed. Have a great day, love. Talk to you soon.